Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers that come in the spirit of GMS, are standing upon their spiritual watchtowers, watching the news, current events, and reading the scriptures, and then filtering the news through the scriptures to let the elect of the nation of Israel, the nation of Israel consisting of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners who look like these heathens, know that they're living in prophetic times, the last days, really the last seconds of the last days before the end of this current age or rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly by the biblical Edomites, or these so-called white people, the second coming of the Son of the Most High, Yahushai, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, who's going to save his elect, put an end to the rulership of these heathens, and begin establishing the kingdom of heaven. Verse 2, and Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision, go out onto the highways and byways, preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this, and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it, the elect that hear the message of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai through the prophets, changing their lives accordingly and doing whatever they can to stay in the good graces of their power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, so that they can have that protective hedge over them to save them from these coming calamities, these judgments, this great destruction of Jacob's trouble, which is right at the door. Verse 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Point blank period. Every single prophecy in the scriptures, if it hasn't taken place already, will take place, and nothing can happen to stop biblical prophecy from coming to its fulfillment. And the linchpin of prophecy we're waiting for right now is the mandatory implementation of the M.O.T.B in Revelation chapter 13, started verse 16. And he causeth all, that he, being the elite rulers of the planet right now, who are of the nation of Esau Edom, your Rothschilds, Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Oppenheimers, the Gettys, the Carnegies, the Aldriches, you name it, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a M.A.R.K. in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that M.A.R.K. is the RFID/NFC, MICROCHIPIMPLANT. It is a physical instrument because these Edomites are carnal, physical people. It's not a spiritual mark. It's not worshiping on Sunday, dealing with white women or using guns. None of that, or an embargo on Christianity. None of that nonsense. And all you got to do is go into the word M-A-R-K in the Strongs, which is G5480, Karagma, which you sincere Akim and Akwath in the know. Hey, you already know this, but as we get closer to the end, there's going to be more Israelites waking up and being new listeners. So this is information we definitely need to keep going over, because we are in these times where these prophecies are no longer tarrying, but are coming to their fulfillment. And this charagma is, whether you receive it or not, is going to determine whether you're going to be saved from this coming destruction or be a part of this coming destruction. But it's G5480, karagma, haragma, a stamp an imprinted mark. So what? A physical object of the charagma stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist or anti-Hamashiachim, the anti-anointed. Because if you receive that charagma and you are coming in the spirit of the so-called Antichrist, which the Antichrist isn't one singular person, it's a spirit out here, a spirit of rebellion against the ways of Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi in the scriptures, which is exactly what this Edomite pushes. His whole society is predicated upon doing everything against the scriptures and the ways of righteousness. But let's go to the root word, which is Strong's G5482, harex, a pale or stake, a palisade. And when you look at that C hip, what does it look like? A little grain of rice or a little steak that goes into your flesh. And with the steak, what do you use it for? To mark your claim on some territory. And that's exactly what these elites are doing with you if you receive the charagma. They're planting this stake in you to mark you as their territory, their property. In the Strong's definition, from harasso, to sharpen to a point, akin to G1125, through the idea of scratching. And how did they get that haragma into your skin? They scratch, they cut into you to insert it into you with that syringe. And now let's go to the root word of harex, G1125, grapho, which reads to write with reference to the form of letters, to delineate or form letters on a tablet, parchment, paper, or other material, to write with reference to the contents of writing, to express in written characters, to commit to writing things not to be forgotten, write down and record. And what's going to be on those haragmas? Your biometric data, your banking data, your medical data, everything that has to do with your identity written down, digitally on there, so it's not to be forgotten. And hey, it's no coincidence that with talks of C hips out there, look at what happened in Sweden. They've already rolled out, the haragma, and they were saying that, look, you can put all your C019, health information on there so it's not forgotten. You've got that going on in Sweden. You've got I think it's a Belgium company called Walletmore that's talking about C hips with your banking information on it. And of course, we can't forget Elon Musk with Neuralink. Hey, that charagma in the forehead. All this talk of instruments inside you holding all your information in you as we're going towards what? A digital, cashless society predicated upon CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. Hey, if the spirit of Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi is dealing with you, you can clearly see that haragma is that C-hip implant. Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the charagma, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Hey, all your personal information, your grapho on that haragma, and if you buck up against the system, they simply turn off your ability to use your haragma, and you're a social pariah. You can't buy or sell, get a job, travel abroad, or do anything. Just think about that Chinese social credit score system. Hey, that haragma is going to work the same way. But if you're on that grid, you won't be able to escape because you're going to have that physical instrument in you. Verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And when we go to the 666 in the Strongs, it's G5516, high Psi stigma. 666, the meaning of which is the basis of much vain speculation. But when the spirit of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai is dealing with you, hey, it's not of vain speculation. You know exactly what it is. But let's go to G4742, one of the root words, which is stigma. M-A-R-K, pricked in or branded upon the body. So what? That 603 score and 66 is also linked with a physical act taking place on your body. A haragma, pricked in or branded upon the body. And remember what it said about the root word for haragma, harax, through the idea of scratching. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belonged to. And there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods. And like I said earlier, the elites want to put this haragma in you so that they can claim you as their property. And and if you receive it, what does that mean? You've accepted them as your master, point blank, period. And let's see what the root word for a stigma is. From a primary stizo, i.e., to stick, prick, a mark incised or punched for recognition of ownership, a point blank, period. Physical instrument being put into your body. And I opened up the video with all these verses to preface an article on powelltribune.com just to show that, hey, though it tarry, wait for it shall surely come. It will not tarry. We are at the door of the rollout and eventual mandatory implementation of the haragma, that C-hip, IMPLANT, pricked or cut into your skin to signify who your masters are, what God you worship. But the title of this article, which was published on March 7th of 2023 this year, is Powell, Senators Bid to Block Mandatory MICROCHIPs Fails. That's what's in this article. Some senators are trying to put legislation in place to block businesses from forcing their workers to receive that C-hip. But hey, it's all futile. Again, biblical prophecy cannot be averted. This rollout of the C-hip and mandatory implementation will take place. As lawmakers debated a bill that would bar employers from forcing their workers to be C-hipped, a certain skepticism hung over the idea, and those doubts about whether a ban was premature, unnecessary, or just a bit out there prompted the House to narrowly reject the legislation last week. Senate File 72, sponsored by Senator Dan Larson, R. Powell, failed on a 32-28 vote, despite some, at times, dire warnings from proponents. As the bill made its way through the Senate, where it passed 19-12, and into the House, Larson said he repeatedly heard the objection that it's not here in Wyoming yet. Why do we worry? But the senator argued it was better to be proactive against C-hips, which have been growing in popularity and in use cases. Sweden, Neuralink, Walletmore, another company dealing with BCIs or brain-computer interfaces called Synchron. We went through some mandates with the C019, and we all said at that time, you're not going to have a mask. You're not going to have to be, take that juice. Larson said at a House Labor Committee meeting last month. So let's get out in front of it, talking about C-hipping. And what happened? You had to wear that face diaper, and a lot of people were faced with losing their jobs and not being allowed to function in society unless they got that juice. That whole thing was a dry run for the rollout and mandatory implementation of the CHIP. Because what? You won't be able to buy or sell, travel abroad, get a job, or do anything without it. Another backer, Representative Tony Locke, R. Casper, asserted that they were pushing very hard to force tracking your cell phones during the PANDEMIC and said micro C-hipping could come with the next crisis. And look at where we're at in society right now. Talks of a global economic collapse, talks of cyber attacks and blackouts. You know, what did K. Tissue Schwab of the WEF say? We have to work. The next PANDEMIC is going to be a cyber PANDEMIC. And that would be the perfect cover to that much more quickly roll out their new system. Hey, the banks have collapsed. There's been blackouts and cyber attacks that have wiped out the system. So we need to come with a solution. How about we further implement these CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, in this digital cashless society we want to create? And we just so happen to have what? These smart cities set up, these 15-minute cities, and all the infrastructure in place. The only thing, though, is that we need to know exactly who you are. We need to know whether you've got your juice shots, whether you're an enemy of the state or not. And, to make sure you're the right person accessing this bank account. So we need you to get this M.O.T.B in you. It's easy for us to think it's crazy, Locke said. It's crazy until there's enough fear that we go over the top and we go over the edge. And then all of a sudden, we're so afraid that we do something that invades our individual freedoms at that level. And what's that saying the elites have? Ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. They create the chaos and come in with the solution. And we can bring society back to normal. All you got to do is get on this digital grid and receive that M.O.T.B. But that's it with this article. You get the point. And I got the inspiration of this video and got this article from the brother GMS Watchman, who did a video on this article going into the same things I'm going into. But hey, this message just needs to get spread out there as much as it can, because we are coming into these times. And you've got new brothers and sisters waking up and hearing this word, and they need to hear it straight and uncut, what that M-A-R-K in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18 is. So, through the will of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, they make the right choice and don't receive it. Because if you do receive it, as it says in Revelation chapter 14, verses 9 to 10, you're going to be destroyed. Which, hey, let's get that. This is Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast, which is this system we're currently living in, the last leg of the fourth beast in Daniel chapter 2, those iron toes mixed with miry clay, the reincarnated Roman Empire, the NATO EU system that the U.S. is a part of, and his image. And the image is the financial, political, and military aspects of this BEAST system, and receive his M.O.T.B in his forehead or in his hand. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone, getting burned up by those nuclear missiles when they're shot to the ends of the earth during World War III, or getting hit by that concentrated heat, so-called laser beams, from the chariots of the Most High, which people ignorantly refer to as so-called UFOs. And over the last couple of years, you've been hearing an uptick in UFO sightings all across the planet, so much to where these different world governments have had to admit to their existence. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb, Yahushai, hey, and in the presence of the elect as well, who are going to be on that chariot watching those nukes and laser beams hit all across the planet, mainly in the United States of America, which everybody that's not of the elect, Israelites included, in America, and especially, well, shit, if you're not of that elect, you through anyway, but more so if you receive that haragma, hey, you're going to be wiped off the face of the earth because 200 million nuclear missiles are going to hit this place and turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. And again, that's going to be in the presence of the Lamb, Yahushai, and the elect watching that great destruction. But hey, again, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, and though it tarry, wait for it shall surely come. It will not tarry. And when we see information like this coming out, we can clearly see that we're living in the times where these final prophecies are no longer tarrying. But now I'm going to close it out in Isaiah 34, verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of Yahweh and read. The book of the Most High, of course, being the scriptures, what people refer to as the Old and the New Testament, as well as the Apocrypha, which is a part of the Old Testament. No one of these shall fail. No one of these prophecies shall fail. Though it tarry, wait for it. None shall want her mate. There's no other book, philosophy, or scientific idea out there that can compare to the scriptures in its 144% accuracy. The scriptures tell you what happened in the past, what's happening right now, and what happens in the future. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are clearly almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.